Hey, what's up, Misty?
Hey Craig, how are you?
Oh, just enjoying life here in Charleston. How's life over there?
Going well. Everything is busy and picking up here in Hamilton.
So I've stepped away from crafting the last, year or two. I really focused on the business, but I really want to get back into it. It's so therapeutic. I miss sewing. I miss creating things. And I have the perfect space above the garage for a sewing room. And I just can't, for the sake of me, figure out the layout or figure out what I need for it and just figure out a place where the sole purpose is that I can walk in there, escape, and start to make, things for my home and my friends and family again.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I spend quite a bit of time in my sewing room, so I think I could give you some tips and tricks to get you set up for what you need.
I think that would be fantastic. And maybe when you're here, you can at least point me in the right direction to start my quilting journey. I have always been encouraged to quilt by many people over the last few years, but I don't really know what that means.
Well, absolutely. I can come help you. Is there a time that works for you?
Yeah, I think if you wanted to come out next week and set the room up, I'm gonna be in and out of town, but I've got some ideas. I really would just love a large piece of furniture in the middle of the room to lay
Okay.
everything out. And maybe if you have time after you set the room up, you can stay and teach me a little bit about quilting because I really would love to get into it.
That sounds great. I'd love that. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, I can't wait to see what you do with the space.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Craig had a vision, and I knew exactly what he needed to bring it to life and help him create the ultimate sewing space. He has a room over his garage that will be perfect. It had kind of turned into a catch-all zone, but I knew once it was cleared out, it would be amazing. So I traveled to Charleston with a few of my coworkers, and we got to work. We created every corner with Craig in mind using Missouri Star products. From the cutting mats to organized storage for his tools, it's now a sewing sanctuary, and I can't wait to see what he thinks. Hi, Craig. How are you?
Good. And how are you, Misty?
I'm doing great. Getting everything ready.
Awesome. Well, I just got back into town and wanted to check in to see how it was all going.
It's going well. I'm getting close, just putting the final details on.
Were you able to get that huge sewing table in there and all the other furniture?
Yeah, I actually think it looks really great. I think you're going to be excited.
Okay, well, I can't wait to see it. I'll be home soon.
All right, see you soon.
Knock, knock, knock.
Hey, Craig, how are you?
Oh my gosh.
What do you think?
Wow. This is awesome.
I think it turned out so
Thank
good.
you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Oh, this is something I've wanted to do for so long and utilize this space, and I just can never figure it out.
Well, I hope you love it, and I hope it will kickstart lots of fun quilting and crafting and sewing in the future.
Oh, you have everything.
Well,
Everything
you
we
have
need.
everything. You had the perfect space. You just needed a little help to get it ready for you. And so I think you're all set.
Yeah. Why don't you show me around all this new stuff?
So you've got this great new sewing desk, of course, with your sewing machine here in the middle. And I've got you a couple different size cutting mats. So the larger one is great if you have like big yardage or something you're cutting. And of course, the smaller one when you're doing small projects.
I can't believe we have space for everything.
I
now.
know, this is amazing.
I used to stack textbooks up behind my sewing machine to make it level with the
Wow.
sewing table. Oh, and there's a place to iron over here.
Yes. So you've got this great wool pressing mat, and
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar. I mean, everybody has a normal iron, but this is kind of a fancy one.
I've never seen this.
So this is an Aliso iron, and so it has a lift in it. So when you touch it, it goes down, and you can press it, and then
my
it
gosh.
you never have to set it up.
That's so convenient.
Yeah, it's great.
I remember when I started to sew, there was just different things where I was like, someone should invent this. Because I used to have to used to have to clear the table and then lay like towels down to use as my ironing mat. So even this ironing mat, I'm excited about. What is this? Just like a wool mat?
It's a wool mat, and it has a core that prevents the steam from going through and damaging the table.
Okay.
And so you can, iron on it, and you don't have to worry about it damaging your new desk.
It's like a one-stop
set.
shop.
Yeah, so we hung some of your pillows, of course, as inspiration, since that's kind of the beginning of your journey, and pinned up some things that will hopefully inspire some future projects.
Yeah, I mean, pillows is where I started, obviously in home ec in 7th grade.
Yeah.
but it's really all I know how to sew. And I'd like to get into other projects and really start to make things for around the home. I've wanted to get into quilting for a while, but I've just been intimidated.
Well, if you can sew a pillow, you can sew a quilt. It's all just straight seams.
I didn't know that. Yes, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I tried to set you up with all the tools that you might need. And
Okay.
so I gave you 2 different size rotary cutters. Again, this is kind of your smaller projects. It's just
Is this from Missouri Star?
these are our Missouri Star tools.
Oh, very neat.
And, you know, I'm a little biased, but they're my favorite.
Yeah.
And so you have a 45 and a 60.
Okay.
And so this is if you're cutting through like heavier materials or lots of layers. You're going to use this larger one.
I saw the bolts of fabric you
Exactly.
gifted
Yeah.
me over here.
Yeah. Whatever you need to get going and hopefully keep sewing for a while.
Well, there's no excuses now.
No, you're really and truly set up.
Okay, so you got a small rotary cutter and a large
And a
one.
large, and then of course a variety of scissors. And so same idea, you know, it goes with the size of the thing you're cutting. And
Right.
so I love these little snips just to trim my threads. And a seam ripper, because of course we all have those mistakes that we
I
make
know.
along the way.
When we did our presentation in Hamilton, I think someone asked what my favorite sewing tool was, or maybe you did, and it's always been a seam ripper.
You know, I think it's important to remind people, whether you're first beginning or you've been sewing a long time, like this is an important tool. You never stop using it. There's not a single quilt that I've made, even after all these years, that I don't use it at least once.
So you have this built-in table.
Yeah.
So your projects can just keep flowing through, which is really nice.
Yep, exactly. And you know, if you decide that this is the machine you're going to use day to day, you can actually get a great little insert so that this is completely flush while you sew. And instead of having to stack up those textbooks, you have this great smooth surface to just keep stitching. You've got some pins, clips.
What are these things?
Those are called jelly rolls. So in
Jelly
quilting,
rolls?
yes, they're just rolls of 2.5-inch strips.
Okay.
And so in quilting, we have something called pre-cuts. And what it is a designer designs a whole line of fabric. And then instead of having to buy a bunch of different cuts of yardage, they put them together into these pre-cuts, and a jelly roll is one of those.
What would you use these for?
To make a quilt, of course.
A thin strip like that?
Yeah, because you'll just cut it into different size pieces that you'll need for your pattern.
I have so much to learn.
You do, but you're going to be a fast
What's
learner.
this?
This is a light because extra light goes a long way
Okay.
when you're sewing.
I guess I didn't realize how quilting is just sewing.
It really is. Yeah.
Okay, you don't need any fancy machines.
You don't. I think some people get this, they get overwhelmed by the idea of it because you see these beautiful, intricate quilts,
Yeah.
right? But really, the majority of them, you're just sewing straight from like here to here. And so if you can sew a long straight seam, you can sew a small straight seam, and you can do it.
What are the different things you can do with your quilting blocks? Like use-wise?
Well, the possibility is really endless. You can make, you know, a pillow, you can make pot holders, table runners, quilts, whatever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anything that you can use fabric for, you can use quilt blocks
I need
for.
all of those things. I've never seen neon rulers before.
So we actually make our rulers and templates in-house in Hamilton.
Oh, really?
And so we use this kind of neon green acrylic because we find it to be the easiest to see when you're making your cuts on fabric. And so whether you're using light fabric or dark fabric, it really stands out and you can see your measurements.
I love how it's transparent and you can see right through it.
Yeah, and so this one is 2.5 inches wide by 15, and the reason that we designed them this way is because of those pre-cuts. We use those so often, and so 2.5 inches is a quarter of 10.
Okay.
Or equal to the size of your strips, right? The 2.5 inch strips, and then
That's what these are.
Exactly. And let me show you here on these 10-inch squares. They're 15, so if you're going to make a diagonal cut, it will reach point to point.
Oh.
And so it's all just designed to work with these pre-cuts exactly.
And then you just use,
Your rotary cutter, yep.
you want to show me?
Sure. And so see, we could just make a cut.
Oh, and then this is perfect for that.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And
Just
then the
like when
other
I
way.
started out,
Yeah.
except now I have a place for everything.
Yes, you do.
Do you find that being organized makes crafting easier?
It really does. And having good tools makes
Okay.
all the difference. And
Yeah,
so
because that went right through it.
Yeah, and I tried to give you a variety of sizes depending on what you're working on. And sometimes, just having just the right size ruler or template makes all the difference. So I have these 2 sizes here, and I also have some larger ones over on the wall for you.
Okay.
So those
Oh,
are...
yeah, wow, they're much bigger.
Yeah. And so those are if you're using your bolts or you're cutting like a border for your quilt that I know you're gonna make.
Yeah. Your utility is very good. Like there's a
Thank
place
you.
for everything. Like I love knowing exactly where these are going to be when I need to find them instead of getting lost under all the scraps.
For sure. And as you spend time in here, of course, you'll adjust things so it makes sense to you. But I think having a home for everything really does make a difference.
How long have you been sewing?
Since I was a little girl. My grandma first taught me when I was probably 10. And she made all my clothes for me, and I started making, doll clothes and little
Really?
little projects.
So I should trust your setup. I feel like you know what you're doing.
I've been at it for a while, so.
Know where the best space is for everything. And then when did you make your first quilt?
So my first quilt I made when my son was born. And
No way.
Yeah, so I just made a little baby quilt for him, and that was the one I made by myself. My grandma taught me to quilt. So before she passed away, I sat and pieced with her, and she was like, sew these two squares together, but I didn't really count that as myself.
I have a great friend who's having a baby girl in a couple months, so maybe I'll make a little baby blanket for her
I
one
hope
day.
you do, and you'll have to send me a picture.
So you're confident you'll be able to teach me to do that?
Absolutely. You'll be obsessed with quilting in no time.
Awesome. What's this?
So this is called the Caterpillar Glow, and so it has both a cutting mat that you can actually use your rotary cutter just like I showed you before, and then you can also pull this off and use it as a light board. So like if you decide you want to applique something onto a shirt, for example, you could use this to trace it and not have to, awkwardly hold it against a window or something like that.
One of my first pillows was a tooth fairy pillow.
Okay.
And I did applique with the baby's name on it, and a pocket for the tooth and a pocket for the money. And I found it took so long, and I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Now you have it.
Oh my
You're
gosh,
all
why didn't
set.
I find you guys earlier in my life?
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me show you over here. We have, some books for you, extra storage you can tuck away.
Funny thing about this book, look,
Yeah,
I wrote the
you
forward.
wrote the forward,
yeah,
right?
Sewing for Dummies. But there's nothing about quilting in there,
Well,
at least for me.
Maybe that'll be your next one.
Yeah, I would love that.
And so we have some block magazines. So I'm determined to get you quilting. And so that has patterns and inspiration for you in there.
Okay.
And then of course, if you look
Oh,
on
look
the
at
back.
the beautiful family.
Yeah. And so there's beautiful pictures and patterns included in all of those. And then one of the things I love about our block magazine, if you flip all the way to the back, then you can see what projects are included.
Oh,
in
wow,
each
that's
one.
incredible.
Yeah. So in here, this is our template binder.
Okay.
And so we also use, same as the rulers, we have just some little template shapes that are great for quilting. So we have this half hexy template for you, a little half heart, but we have loads of shapes at Missouri Star. And so as you get going, you'll see what these can be useful for, but the half hexy template is great. It's a really fast and easy beginner quilt.
Okay,
so that's
cool.
why I tucked that one
I
in
feel
there.
like that will mean so much more to me soon.
It will.
Okay, we've got fabric to start, thread. Is it a different thread that you should use when you're quilting?
I just use cotton thread, but
Okay.
really it's personal preference.
This is a pretty yellow. That's
Yeah.
my mom's favorite color.
Aw,
See, the gifting part of crafting, especially sewing, is so incredible because making someone a present means so much more these days.
It really does. So now it's all here, right at your fingertips for you to keep going.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you helping with all of this because I learned to sew in home ec class.
Right.
I loved to cook and garden. Because in home ec class we learned half the year we spent cooking, half the year we spent sewing.
Right.
My mom was an elementary school teacher, so she didn't mind me cooking at all. I would just leave a total mess in the kitchen, but my dad's job was to clean up, do the
Perfect.
dishes. So I realized that I love to create. And about a decade ago, I was going through a breakup where we lived together, so I had to leave behind my garden and my workshop, but I only had a sewing machine.
Okay.
I thought I wanted to make clothes or something like, grandiose, and but I didn't know how. But
Sure.
I remembered how to make a pillow from home ec.
Of course.
And so I tore up some old shirts and cut squares out of them. And you make a pillow inside out, obviously. And when I turned it right side out, I got that, euphoric feeling of creation again. And so I just started to sew pillows. Since then, we've been able to launch this big home decor company, but we specialize in throw pillows.
I love it. It's so fun, and I love that you've got this nod to Charleston, where you're from, and all of your designs, and also, how much therapy it can be to create. And I love that you share that with so many people, because there's no reason to be ashamed to sit down at a sewing machine and take some time to make something.
Yeah.
And
it was fun, but once I had made so many pillows, you can only have so many pillows in your
That's
house.
true.
I was like, maybe I need an excuse to do this. So I turned it into a little bit of a company. The problem is then I lost myself in the business side of things a little bit. And all of a sudden I wasn't sewing as much. And sewing became a business instead of why I started in the first place. And so a couple months ago, I was like, I really want to get back into crafting, and for the therapeutic reasons and the joy of it.
of course.
And, I've already done pillows, so I want to try something new. And that's when we discovered Missouri Star and this incredible community that you've built.
Thank
a global
you.
community.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. Like a journey that I don't think anyone in our family could have expected or foreseen. But man, we've just been enjoying the ride. And like you said, I think people come together by the joy of making something. And so that's really how this community was formed, is everybody feels the positive impact of making the time to create something new, learn a new skill, and to just sit down and sew.
But it can be intimidating, and that's why, I've wanted to get into quilting, but I didn't know where to start.
Sure.
But with everything else that I've tried in my life, like different hobbies, I've just Googled or watched YouTube or read, and I just needed to take the first step to get into quilting, because I didn't know if I needed new machines or what. And I feel like you guys make it very unintimidating and very approachable. So
That's certainly the goal.
I'm ready to learn, ready to start, and hopefully if I put one foot in front of the other, we will get to the point where I can make, that quilt.
Absolutely. So join us next time, and we're going to make your very first quilt block.